You're stretching my
Okay.
technical bounds.
It's okay. It's okay.
We'll ask and see if we can't find a way.
It's good. It's good.
David Cronin. Okay. Do we know if KDOT, if we're gonna have anybody from KDOT?
Yeah, Brian. He just popped up. Brian Keyrath is with the KDOT design section, and so I think if there's any questions on the interchange or K10, he's here to answer those questions.
Okay. I think we got a quorum, unless anybody knows of somebody that we're waiting on. Okay.
That's pretty much it.
I will kind of kick this off and the why we're here, and then we'll do some introductions and try to have a good discussion and answer some questions. Okay, I'm Derek Rogers, Director of Lawrence Parks and Recreation. I use all the facilities all over Lawrence, and over time growing up here, I think I've been in different portions of parks and recreation programs all my life, and as I get older, it's probably more the dog park and the trails is where I live. Why are we having the discussion? I think I went to the public meeting. I didn't speak. Mark did. But I was hearing questions from the group out there that we didn't have the right staff to answer. And then I wanted to clarify some things, and I'll let you know where, what some of my thoughts are, and you can hear what MSO's thoughts are and some other people on the call. So how about I just kind of go around the room. I think everybody knows Mark Hecker, Assistant Director for Parks. We'll start with Sean Coffey. Introduction. He's on mute.
Sean Coffey, Fire Chief with the Lawrence Douglas County Fire and Medical Department.
Awesome. Lynn and
Gene.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Okay, and then Darren, I don't know if everybody knows you or not.
Darren Pearson, Park Operation Manager for Lawrence Parks and Rec. So responsible for the day-to-day operation of that dog park.
Awesome. See John.
John Shelton, dog owner, dog walker.
Okay. Dave Cronin.
Dave Cronin. I'm a dog owner too. Also a city engineer in our Municipal Services and Operations department. So I could answer any questions on, I guess, any road related items.
Okay. And we're going to add a little twist to this. Tell us what kind of dog you have. Michael Meyer.
I've been a Mutt Run participant since 2004. I'm retired from the U.S. Geological Survey. I've gone through about 4 generations of dogs over at Mutt Run. So I have a very vested interest in the preservation of the Mutt Run the way it is.
Ann.
I'm Ann Fowler, sorry. I have 2 dogs at the moment, Bob and Jack. I've been, I think I've been at the off-leash dog park every day unless I was sick or out of town since 2003.
Wow.
Yeah. So I, just as Mike said, I have a huge vested interest. It's been a wonderful place for many, many years.
And I didn't get a chance to say I have, this is my second Mutt Run dog, but before I moved to Lawrence, the first place I wanted to go was to the Mutt Run to see whether it was an acceptable place to live, and which I judged by the dog park. And so I moved here.
Awesome. Brian.
My name is Brian Kirath. I'm with the Kansas Department of Transportation. I'm a road design leader within KDOT, and I'm the project manager for the SLT project, which is to expand K10 to 4 lanes from Iowa up to I-70.
Do you have a dog?
I don't have a dog, but I have roommates that have 3 dogs who are actually behind me right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Crowded room.
Chris.
Hello, hi, Chris King, Fire Prevention with the Lawrence Douglas County Fire and Medical Department. And yes, I have a dog as well. It's about 11-year-old, just had a birthday, 11-year-old Bichela Labrador. So
Cool.
he's a big family lap dog. So
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate Ray for coming. There's a few things, and I'll open it up to some of your questions and just follow on the discussion. Whether there's a road or no road, my interest is in ensuring that all of our assets in parks and recreation are well cared for, and we would still be doing amenities. So regardless of what happens, if the road doesn't happen or it's a compromise and it's a different location, we'll always look to do what we do at the dog park. And it is that I know we need to maintain the trails better, and we got some drainage issues. I have an organization that has talked about sponsorship that was pre-COVID at the dog park, and then I have another individual who would like to do something in a bigger way. And I don't know what kind of dollar figure he's talking about, but I did share out the responses to the amenities. So it sounds like obviously a shelter isn't wanted or needed, but would a dog washing station or a pond? I think those are things that if you have ideas or what, we might put some substantial money if we do have a donor that wants to do something out there, what would be important. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, and you can give head nods or wave hands or say, what I see is the existing maintenance road out there is a no-go. Am I saying anything? Did I miss anything? I'm seeing the head nod, yes. So if the road was where it was, there's strong opposition to no. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's right.
Well, I'm not quite understanding what you're saying. There's an existing road that was a dirt road that several years ago you guys put gravel asphalt on with signs up and saying that this was the emergency exit and in case of a problem, which you can't use as emergency exit because the gates are locked. You have no way to open them, and nobody's ever out there. Well, there's not somebody from the Parks and Rec all the time out there to open the gates. So
Fire department has a master key, and they also have bolt cutters. Our complex staff, they have a key now. Have they used it? We have the process where they could, and they would lead the people out, but it hadn't happened. But that road is your opposition. Would that be correct, John?
not the road that exists, the making the a wide paved road and directing traffic onto that road all the time, to me, gets rid of the natural aspect. We actually use that road more as a trail, you stay in the bad weather and things like that. So we were okay when they said we needed it as an emergency exit, and that wasn't a problem because we use it as a trail. I'm personally opposed to a 24-foot wide road and then another whatever you have to have for a 10-foot wide mixed use path. You have one not very far away, so it seems to me to be a waste of money. And getting rid of all the trees you'll have to cut down to do that, a new bridge you'll have to build, that type of thing, and bringing a lot more traffic in that way, just for the sake of an emergency exit, or the fact that the soccer mom's got to get home quicker. I have to wait at KU games and all sorts of stuff like that. So I don't think that's such a big deal, but I understand the emergency exit. We were okay with that.
So one of the things I heard was there a compromise? Could the road go up the spillway? Would there be opposition to that if the road went a different place?
My personal one is I was actually the one that first suggested that, I believe, because to me it did two things. One is you didn't have to put in a new mixed use path. You were running it in a place that didn't didn't bother the dog park. It seemed to be the least costly, best alternative idea to me. And I actually went and looked at Pomona and different reservoirs under core, and they have roads in them and they have paths in them and all sorts of stuff in them. So I thought, you know what, that's a better idea. You don't have to build another bridge to do that. So it was save a lot of money that way.
Right. So that's one of the things I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, was at our meeting, people were saying that there wasn't any compromise or even maybe looked at other solutions. And so that's where I think this process has been backwards. Normally, we would have started off probably in a planning process, and this is Dave Cronin explained a normal process, but because of funding, it got the things backwards where we were meeting to talk about other things before it had actually gone through the planning commission. But that being said, would the group be open if MSO says, hey, we have a process, something to the public, and if there isn't a compromise that's common ground for everybody, then, you know, project could be killed at a later date. So just a thought.
I don't want to speak for everybody, but are you saying you guys would be willing to take a look at that option?
I look at the options for everybody. So yes, even though there's a maintenance road there, doesn't mean that's where the road needs to go. And I've talked many times with MSO to confirm that. You know, could there be a way that something beneficial to you guys doesn't go up next to the dog park in any way? So, for example, a fence isn't needed if there's not a safety issue. It's open space, it should remain open space. If there's a safety issue, then we need to put some fencing in. But we don't need to fence the whole doggone thing. No pun intended. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I would just add, Derek, that we're flexible on the alignment of the road. So that's just, it's completely conceptual. You know, we've heard the need for getting out of the complex when there's emergencies, thunderstorms, and it's backed up and you can't go anywhere. So, you know, if another alignment is better, it gives us a better solution, then we're completely open to it. So what we had shown on the concept was just merely what had been on the park master plan. And so plans can change, and if it's better to shift it to the north, it's fine with me. You know, we just got to make sure it's all feasible and that the Corps of Engineers is fine with it too. Their main interest is crossing the spillway and the surfacing that's used in the spillway. So those are things that we will have to discuss when we start the public engagement process.
Can you talk about the public engagement process and what that would look like?
Well, I think what we're going to propose is it's kind of a two-step process. One is to form a steering committee of stakeholders, and I think there's a couple folks from Mutt Run on there and some folks from the youth ball fields and Arboretum and Flat, Friends of Lawrence area trails as a stakeholder with the shared use path. And certainly this road could cause additional traffic on the dam road. And I know folks use the dam road to bike out into the county, so they're having interest in this too. But really to get everyone to the table to listen to each other and the pros and cons and everyone's concerns, and see if we can identify different options to look at, the feasibility of those that are within the Corps of Engineers guidelines, and ultimately try to make a recommendation on an alignment before we proceed to final design. And so I would, like I said, a two-step process. I would see that public engagement process being step one with the stakeholder committee, and others will have public meetings that anyone can attend, and then make a recommendation or present different options to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board and City Commission before we proceed to final design.
But Dave, excuse me, it seemed to me, and I think to us, that the steering committee was only going to go forward after the commission approved funding for the project. And the project is to put the road where we don't want it. And so that did not seem very collaborative. It seemed wrong to us that all this discussion really needed to have happened after we had that very first meeting with you at the Mutt Run, when we said, you know, you guys, we have got serious problems with this road going through where it is. But here it's been, what, 3 months? And now we're just starting to talk about alternatives. So I think I just wanted to register my unhappiness with the notion of the steering committee. I do not think you will find very many Mutt Run advocates willing to participate in a steering committee if it's after the fact of funding to put through the road where it is.
Agree.
Really, where the conversation should have started was way back when you guys were looking for the grant and everything, and you went after a grant and didn't include anybody but a couple of the trails people that wrote letters saying, yeah, we'd like another trail, which they all would. Nobody came to anybody at the dog park. Granted, there wasn't all that many people to come to at the dog park, but a public notice could have been put out.
And I'd also like to point out that the very first meeting we had at the dog park was at our invitation. We invited you because the second we saw the grant in the Lawrence Journal World, we immediately started to mobilize and invited you right away. And we thought that would begin discussions, but it didn't.
No, I apologize. I agree. Conversation should have started a while ago, and in hindsight 2020, we would have done it a lot different. I guarantee it. Dave, I just want to clarify, Dave, the way it's presented for the commission meeting on Tuesday, does it say the road has to go there, or what's the deal?
No, there's going to be, I think, 2 action items. One is to issue an RFQ for a consultant to help facilitate the public engagement process and design. There won't be a cost to that at the meeting next Tuesday. It'd just be to send out a request and get back proposals. And the other would be to form the steering committee. There's not going to be any specific item that says approve or not approve the road on Tuesday. Of course, the city commission could give us some other direction, but the project, irregardless of the item on the agenda, is already in the 2021 budget. It was in the capital improvement plan that was approved earlier this year. So they could always change that plan at any time. And so they could change it Tuesday, they could change it a few months down the road. And so even if we, proceed with trying to identify a consultant to lead the process and give us a plan, that will still come back to the commission, and they could still decide at that point to go a different direction or not to proceed with the project. So there's probably many steps. This is really the first step in the process.
It's probably worth pointing out that how many of us are here? 4 or 5 of us are, Mark, you kindly referred to us as leaders. I don't think that we are. We're sort of just like the point people. And the people that we represent, the 1,300 people that signed our petition, it's worth pointing out that that petition requested a moratorium. It just said, let's stop and think and go back to the beginning and try to solve the problem together. And so that's our mandate from those people. So we can't really say anything beyond that's what we have been asked to communicate to you guys. We just want to stop the process and go back and do it, as Derek just said, let's do it right. And that's all we can offer you. We can't, the 4 of us, say, great, let's put it on the spillway.
Well, but we do want it somewhere else.
Yeah.
We don't want it.
Yeah.
there.
To me, there's kind of two things here. One is, from what I've read, ever since early 2000s, Parks and Rec has their master plan of they've wanted to put a road through there. Okay, that's what I think that you guys want to do. Two is that with the K10, the bypass and all that, and the intersection at 27th Street, which I know you've improved the, I guess it's the east side, but I don't know, have you finished the west side improvements yet? The turn lanes coming out of the west, because to me, that's what's taking care of the soccer people and getting them out faster. So that's sort of the second part, and that all has to do with what's going to happen with the bypass. Can the guys that I can't see it, but what is going to go on with that? Do you have a time frame? Because that seems to me, if that happens, or one of those 9 different things on the study happened, that would totally alleviate what coming out of the soccer field emergency problem or traffic problem. So, where are you at? Are you for both of them? Are you for one of them? Is one of you for one of them and the other, or what's the situation?
That's what I wanted to ask Brian also, because my dogs have just gotten home from their walk. Sorry. Out, please. Go on.
I guess I can go ahead and start speaking to some of your questions.
Sorry.
Currently, those interim improvements you're seeing on K10, those are supposed to wrap up here in the next month or so, probably by the end of November. And as you say, that's adding some turn lanes. We've changed the timing of the signals and kind of adjusted the 27th Street side to kind of make traffic flow better. And that's just kind of like a Band-Aid in the interim until we come through with the expansion of the K10. And that's probably not happening until 2024 or 2025 probably is when construction might start. There's no secured funding yet, but that's kind of the optimistic side of when you'd see those enhancements come through at 27th and Wakarusa there in K10.
Is that true? I'm sorry, I got distracted with the dogs, but when I read the study, it seemed that there was the cluster of 6 things that could happen relatively easily, but then WSP had also recommended 2, one medium cost, one high cost, things that KDOT could do to K10 to alleviate a significant amount of the problem before such time as KDOT had the big bucks to do their major overhaul. And I'd like to know if KDOT is considering doing one or the other of those things, because if it is, then I don't think we need to be having this conversation about the dog park road.
Yeah, so I mean, what came out of that study, you saw the low cost improvements are what we're doing now that you see, construction crews out there constructing now, and those are being implemented at this time. And then there was a high cost solution that came out of that study, and we are advancing the design of that currently, but that's still fitting into that, 2024 timeframe, because it's going to take us a couple of years to develop those plans and implement it. And, without secured funding, we're kind of looking at, maybe we'll break out the Wakarusa intersection part of that final design and build it first. We can't really say at this point in time. We're still working through the design and figuring out, the funding for it at that time. But those long-term improvements you still wouldn't see till 2024 or 2025.
Well, there's another aspect that that was brought up to us as a safety, going on a at-grade intersection at 27th and K10. And what I'm curious about, why hasn't anyone approached KDOT about, if you're approaching, from the east and you're going from 2 lanes to 1 lane, why aren't you slowing the speed limit up, like from 65 to 50 or 45, and from Clinton Parkway entrance doing the same thing as you're approaching a stoplight? you go through Farmers Turnpike through your door and they slow the speed limit up to 45 at those at-grade intersections. So if safety was such a big concern, why wouldn't that addressed on having an at-grade intersection at 27th?
Yeah, and a big reason you see that slowed down.
That seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, a big reason you see that slow down at Farmers Turnpike though is because at Farmers Turnpike, K10 dead ends and you're coming to a T intersection. And that's a big reason why you see that reduction in speed.
But you're coming to a stoplight and you're talking about how unsafe it is at that intersection. And you're going from 2 lanes to 1 lane and you're approaching a stoplight at 65 miles an hour. I mean, that's not normal, not slowing the speed limit down. Well, surely KDOT would be amenable to slowing the speed limit down between 59 and Clinton Parkway because as you approach from the west and the east.
Yeah, and we have our safety people look at stuff like that and, they'd have to follow our policies, so that'd be something we'd look at. I mean, and that's something I think we kind of looked at when we, looked at ways to enhance safety at this intersection. That just didn't come out as one of the top options. But I mean, we can take.
I'm not a traffic engineer, but when I drive on that road, there's places when you're approaching, well, it happens on Clinton when you're kind of coming over the hill to, I don't know what it is, Inverness or something like that, but it says the light's going to be red, and I don't think there's that on either direction from that 27th Street, is there? The people are approaching, they know it's going to be a red light when they get there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and so we actually do have a project that's in the process to put some like stop ahead warnings like that on K10. And we're also putting up some dynamic messaging, permanent electronic signs that will kind of let you know, if there's something coming up ahead of Wakarusa, and they'll kind of give you some delay times too, like you see over in Kansas City, those big electronic signs that kind of give you updates, if there's an accident up there. So those are like things we are looking at implementing or are in the process of implementing there. They just haven't been put up yet.
I have a question about the intersection also.
Okay.
I drove it today and the modifications look great. I think that'll really help traffic flow through there. I've coached a lot of games over there, so I don't see the traffic as a problem like most people do, I guess. What I was thinking was we have a right turn lane now exiting YSC, but there's no left turn lane. So if you're trying to turn left onto K10 and go west, you're holding up all the traffic behind you. So is there any way they could make that a no left turn, and they would have to take Wakarusa to Clinton Parkway and access K10 from there? I drove both routes a few times, and it only takes a couple more minutes if you take Wakarusa to Clinton Parkway and then get on K10 going west.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. We did change the lane assignments on the park side. I can't remember off the top of my head what they were. It was either a through and a left or a straight. Or I think we ended up making that a left turn only lane on the inside there, and then it's a through and a right on the right. Does that sound right, David?
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have a dedicated left turn coming out of the park.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was exclusively to address your concern that those left turners wouldn't be holding up the through traffic. Then the free rights and the through traffic could then flow freely and not be stopped.
Okay.
I have another comment that's not on any of these issues, but I'm sorry I had a prior commitment at 5 o'clock before this meeting was scheduled, so I can't stay very much longer. This I remember early on, I said to Mark Ecker, why don't you just move the soccer fields? Why don't you just move the youth sports complex someplace else? And he laughed and he said, it's never going to happen. That's millions of dollars. Well, I realized that was a crazy idea. However, back in the day when the K-10 wasn't there, it was just a country road and the youth sports complex wasn't very big. It all worked just fine. But over time, the youth sports complex has added sports, added the number of games. It's grown considerably. K-10 came in, and now we've got a problem with people getting in and out. So it just seems to me as an interim solution, at least, that would save the open space of the Mutt Run, that perhaps the city could open up a few more ball fields in other parts of town to take some of the congestion out of the youth sports complex. Jean, who's been a coach there, she said there are places all over town for some sports, and so certainly the city would have some areas it could devote to sports. Why is that such a radical idea? Does everybody have to be in the same place?
No, I don't think it's a radical idea. I've actually discussed that many times, and can we spread stuff around? Some of it we've got, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, 15, 16 soccer fields out there. And then we got the adult sports and the youth, and we also use Holcomb. But yes, I would love to see a different, in a perfect world, something with a pre-built interchange. I look at something more east of Lawrence going out towards Eudora would be ideal, where you already have on and off ramps, and try to build something where the infrastructure is. Unfortunately, I think money's going to be an issue. I can let Mark talk to a little more to your questions. I think he's more versed with the sports out there. But yes, I totally agree with you. And there's probably 3 to 4 times, Darren can correct me if I'm wrong, I know he's got kids that play soccer out there, I believe, where we get the weekends they just pile up, and then the complaints come in about the traffic out there. And that's a snapshot in time compared to the number of people that use the dog park year round.
And Derek, I think it's also worth saying that for us, that is our sport. The nature, I think sometimes people don't understand what the nature of the Mutt Run is. Nobody goes there for the afternoon. That is, it's an exercise place. There are some people that stay in the play area, but most of your users there walk the trails in and out. Some people jog, some people bring mountain bikes. It is our sport, which seems to me should be every bit as legitimate as a baseball player or a soccer player, except it's the only place we have. There is no other place in Lawrence where we can do that with our dogs off leash. And that's, I think, a big reason why we're so protective of it, is that we have no alternatives. Unless you want to say you can now use Clinton State Park off leash anywhere you like.
I'll just say that I totally agree with you. I value no sport or no area, one user over the other. For example, like Clenny's Hill and Sesquicentennial Point. I always look at how can I help them? How are they ever going to get an amphitheater up there? I don't see it happening in the next 10 years just because of budget. But I'm trying to find compromises that we can maybe meet a middle ground that everybody can agree on and can get us down the road. One of the whys that I think we need to hear from is the fire department on something that may have not been too big of an issue when it first started, and it may be even a bigger issue now, but what are their thoughts on emergency entrance exits?
Yeah, Derek, as it applies directly to the fire code, we don't have any jurisdictional authority for implementing the fire code as far as access in and out of there. Now, if you were building structures out there, then we do that. The code is, it's a reasonable level of life safety and property protection from the hazards of fire, explosion, or dangerous condition in the new and existing buildings, structures, and premises. and to provide a reasonable level of safety to firefighters and emergency responders during emergency operations. But what we do always advocate is as many opportunities to get in and out of a facility as possible. And one of the things that does make it difficult, and Chief King and I had the opportunity this afternoon, because I hadn't been out there for a while, to actually go out and drive through and made access all the way from the YSI all the way over to the Mutt Run and then back through again. And as we make access to the CDAT, you know, one of the difficulties that can be for us in the event of emergency is an unimproved surface, which the road is, that goes from YSI or YSC now over to the Mutt Run being unimproved. And then my other concern has always been, and I would tell you from a parent as well as an emergency responder, is I'm glad to see the improvements getting into the YSC area at that intersection. But unfortunately, we've had the experience of responding to fatality wrecks related to that intersection. And it's a difficult thing, and it is during, as you guys indicated, during probably those low incidence but high volume times on the weekends when people are out there, whether it be for the youth football, soccer, or the football, softball and baseball. And so we're always looking for access in. And as we get to that facility and we drove it, one of the big concerns for us today as we looked at that was wonderful improvements as they talked about coming out with that right turn only lane. And there's an interesting thought about no left turns. But as we drove out of that, there's a choke point right there. There's a bridge that's just directly west of the intersection. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, what, a couple hundred yards. And right there, it's very narrow. And what I've seen, obviously you guys know our equipment. We have very large trucks. Our fire trucks run on medical calls as well as our ambulances. They're not small either. And so what concerns me a little bit about only having limited access in is that if we got a heavy traffic volume in there and there was somebody inside the youth sports complex, we would not be able to make ingress into that location. And so if something were to happen, we couldn't get in because the traffic has no flow or anywhere to go. And so it could really cause us a delay. And so by having an additional access into that area or coming into the Mutt Run from the east, it does provide us that advantage. But we're always recommending 2 locations to get in from a safe perspective if we can.
There's plenty of roads in this county and everything else that aren't as good as that gravel road by the Mutt Run that fire and medical go on. I understand were you talking about the bridge that's west of the intersection of 27th and K10? You mean just a couple hundred yards?
Yes.
Well, that's not even anywhere near the dog park. That's something that everybody could have made wider a long time ago.
Now, I'm just talking in general about access into that, and that the cars, when they line up there, that creates a difficulty getting into it. And
Sure.
so I'm not talking about the Mutt Run. I'm just talking about access into the youth sports complex. But I will tell you that there are maybe areas that within the county that we respond on that have, but that is not an improved surface. And most of the townships within Douglas County now have improved surfaces. And I believe even in Wakarusa Township, they've also taken all their roads and chip and seal them as well. And so it can be a challenge at any time. Weather conditions affect it as well. But we just always try to be able to have the best opportunity to get into a location as possible. Because I don't think anybody wants us to have a delay if there's a medical emergency. And so we're just always looking for opportunities. Now, we don't have where the road alignment is for us isn't, we're just always ideally looking to support 2 accesses in to a limited access area.
Why they widen the road through the Mutt Run was for utility vehicles. So, I mean, in an emergency, I don't see why that road couldn't be used for an emergency.
Just don't make it an everyday road.
That's why it was widened.
Yeah, why they changed the surface of it. It used to be a dirt road, and nobody ever said anything about emergencies back then. Now, I understand there's more traffic on K10. That's why I kind of separated the question when I originally asked it. There's the K10 intersection, and then there's what Parks and Rec wants to do. Now, we talked about the K10 with the KDOT guys and everything and when that might happen. But why is it that Parks and Rec so wants to build this road and do all this? You know, if K10 was done, you wouldn't need it for emergency exit. You wouldn't need it for all that stuff. Certainly, this road's going to actually put more pressure on that intersection if people start driving through that way to get to the Mutt Run and get to the golf course and everything else. The way it is now, we go around on Clinton and around. So we're actually less pressure on that. So why is it that you guys want this road so bad through there, you know, in Parks and Recs and have, and you know, that was the other part of my original question.
I'd see it as taking pressure and helping out everybody that uses that facility. If you looked at your master plan, I think that was one of your questions. We had fishing lakes out there and everything else. So that plan isn't a big deal. You go back to the 2017 master plan focus groups, so I'd have to pull it up, and also identify that as a high need and a safety issue. Will it still be a safety issue after KDOT does their thing? And I don't know if they'll actually have something completed in 24, 25 or not that will make a difference. But I had heard, and this would be a question probably for KDOT, when you do the improvement to that intersection, will you close that intersection for how long do you expect? So will we need another access point in somehow? That place.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, that would definitely help because there probably are going to be, you know, just part of the nature of building a bridge, you know, in the final product, K10 will go over Wakarusa. So in the process of building those bridges over Wakarusa, there's going to be a time when probably that intersection will have to be closed. You know, there's lots of different things we can try to do to mitigate how long that is, or, you know, facilitate access, but that just increases costs. And, you know, having that access to the park would definitely help that situation. Just as we try to tie the park in with the new road and the realigned Wakarusa, that'll provide some of that access to the park. You know, it might be 2 weeks that the access is closed, or it could be a month. We don't really know. We haven't got that far along in the planning process to know what that'll look like.
Excuse me, I have to leave, but I just wanted to say thank you for this conversation. I think it's awesome to have so many people talking honestly about the issues, and I so wish we had started this in July. But we didn't, and I would hope that we can continue to do this before we ask the City Commission to expend one nickel on this road. So thanks very much for your time tonight, and I'm sorry I have to leave. Bye.
Bye, Ann.
Yeah,
And, you know, that's really important, because I agree with Ann. This is a wonderful conversation, which I wish we'd had a long time ago. But now we all feel, or at least I think speaking for the Mutt Run, we feel pressed against the wall because we've got 4 days before this is going to come before the commission. And I agree with Ann, we could not support 1 penny being allocated until we have assurances that this road will not happen. So is there any reason why we can't just put a pin in this and start from scratch? Would you lose the KDOT money if you did that? Are you pressured by a deadline?
I'll try to answer that. We're not pressured by a deadline. in the immediate future, as far as the rest of this year. The grant that we received, I think, anticipated construction next year. And so, it actually, I think we're going to try to attempt to put some sort of pause or reset on the project by not having a decision at the commission meeting next week whether or not to proceed or not on the project. So it's, we want to keep having discussions and get some proposals back from consultants on how to move forward, and then bring that recommendation to the commission and see if they want to
Dave?
proceed or not.
Can we do that? Can we get somebody working on proposals for an alternate solution without okaying the city's money for the project? I think one of our fears was that if the city approved money for a designer to design the road through the Mutt Run, that we were acquiescing. We were somehow saying that was okay. But can the city approve the money for a designer of this road, wherever it may be, without saying the road is okay? I mean, do you understand what my question is?
I believe I do. And so we can, so I think it'll be a two-step process. We'll have this consultant public engagement process to identify the location of the road. And then a separate process that would be final design plans prior to construction. And so the KDOT grant funding is all for construction. And so there will be other points in the process where the commission can decide to not move forward with the project. I would anticipate that we will get a city-state agreement from KDOT at some point here in the future on the funding, and so we don't even have that yet. Usually, that's kind of the beginning of the intent on the project. Is we signed a city-state agreement on the grant funding and all the details, and so we don't even have a draft of that yet. So that's still to come as well. So that's a whole nother separate deal. But I think we would need to expend some funds to have these public engagement meetings, to have a consultant facilitate those. And that's where I think the steering committee comes in. But there will be a second phase of that for design. And so after that process, we go through that process.
I'm looking for a way to separate the two issues. If, as Derek said, we find a compromise and we're all saying, yes, we understand why you need a temporary additional entrance and egress to YSC, and somebody should be looking into a design for that. If that's one issue, we have a compromise. The other issue is it cannot be through the Mutt Run. There has to be some assurance that it will not be through the Mutt Run in order to affect a compromise.
I also have a question related to that. As John had brought up, you go to the Pomona Reservoir and they have all types of infrastructure in the spillway, roads, restrooms. And yet out at the Clinton Spillway, they are questioning whether to even have that bike path there anymore. And is there any pressure to say, well, how come you have all this infrastructure in Pomona, but you don't want that infrastructure in the spillway of Clinton, where you could put a road next to the existing bike path?
I haven't dealt as much with the Corps of Engineers as Darren has. I don't know what, Darren, can you add or answer?
No, really. No, I mean, the only thing I would, it just always seems like they've been very protective over their spillway when we've tried to, adjust the concrete path that went through there. I really don't know. I've never been down to Pomona, and I don't know. So.
Well, what I did is I Googled a bunch of reservoirs to look at them from overhead, and I used Pomona because, I mean, that was close and an example with a lot of stuff in it, but you can look at other ones and they have it in too. Jake Baldwin was talking about, because I asked him, I said, how come you can put a road across the bottom of the spillway? And he says, well, if it's a degradable surface that you can do that. And so, okay, why not build a degradable surface road up the spillway? If you can have one at the top and one at the bottom, why can't you run one up? Maybe they just don't like the fact that that path is concrete, because that's not degradable. I don't know, but I don't think anybody's ever had the conversation with them from the city or whoever about that possibility. And it seems to me that that would be the low cost, easiest possibility. And let's say in the future that K10 takes care of the whole problem, you can just tear the asphalt road out. You have a bridge already built. This other way, you're going to have to build more bridges to do this road. The one by the dog park won't work. You're going to have to build bike path bridges, and it's going to cost a fabulous amount of money. You're going to have to build fencing and everything else. So that seemed to be the easiest solution, and I bet you it's not the only one.
And thanks for bringing that up, John. I will say this, and that degradable surface is nice to know. Just looking at what I looked at Google Maps, if the road goes north, there may be no need for bridges. And if you don't need bridges, then you don't use the existing road, then you don't need fence, except for maybe at the very beginning in the northeast corner where it may kind of touch up to it, and you still have your walking path down the existing road, if that's a compromise.
That would be wonderful.
But I was going to ask David.
Be great.
Yeah.
So, I'm not an engineer, so I'm just throwing that out. But to me, I think there could be something that we could agree on and maybe even save some money. It may take out a few trees, though. Dave, what are you thinking if on the consultant piece, you talked about some different proposals? We definitely have heard what we don't want.
Yeah, no, I think we need to look at and get answers back from the Corps too. The difficulty, just to be quite frank, is they won't really give you any feedback till you show them something. So it's kind of like the chicken and egg, what all do we show them? And so we could certainly bring that up. I'm not familiar with Pomona and the spillway. So the only conversations we've had with the Corps is about, as Jake had mentioned, having an erodible surface. So if the spillway is ever needed, that would wash away. So we can certainly ask that question, and I think that question would be asked as we look through different possibilities through the process. So
we appreciate that.
So let's try to get some clarity here. What does the vote on Tuesday really do?
The action items are to consider sending out a request for qualifications for a design consultant to give us proposals on public engagement and design, and to form a steering committee that will be involved with the public engagement process.
Does it approve or not approve a road?
It does not approve a road. There's no action item that says, well, approve the project or not approve the project. I mean, the project is in the 2021 budget. That can always be changed at any time, but there's no action item on the road's going here, the road's not going here. None of those.
I think
items.
we need to give the commission a way to address this. If they feel supportive of our position that the road should not be through the Mutt Run, we need to give them a way to express that, because as it is, my suspicion is Tuesday night there will be many speakers, and the commission needs to be able to address the road in order to address the speakers. And then we need the ammunition. If if we are saying it will not go through the Mutt Run one way or another, we need to be able to get ammunition so we can communicate that back to all of these people. And then you'll have community support, which is what you're looking for, I think. I don't know about the bikers. The bikers may not be too happy with this idea.
Well, they already have a path. I mean, you know, I ride that path all the time. I mean.
No, I mean, but the bike traffic and the road traffic is going to run parallel, and the bikers are going to cross the damn road, and the traffic is going to make a right onto the damn road.
They already do it. They already do that. I mean, it's already that way. I mean, you're supposed to go 30 miles an hour down at the bottom of that hill anyway, and that, you know, people don't do it. It's not enforced and everything else, but
I do it.
that way, huh? Well,
I do it.
yeah, but
I've been stopped.
I think that it's a money saver. It's no brainer if you can convince the Corps to do it. And if not, look at other alternatives. There's no really other place to go put that road, because the side of the emergency spillway is right there within 40 yards of where the road is right now. And you'd have to cut down all the trees to get through there. So, but.
Well, yeah, and to answer your question, Lynn, or to address your comment, the commission can certainly give us that direction next Tuesday to not proceed at all with the project if that's what they want to do. And so
But I was trying to protect the project for you, and that they can proceed with the egress entrance to YSC so long as the new design will not be through the Mutt Run. So that's what compromise is. So you still get a road and we still get a not road.
Yeah. Well, and you know, we don't want to make any decisions till we at least start the process. There's a lot of stakeholders involved in this, and say we're doing something or not doing something, we want to really start from scratch, I think. And so, you know.
Can I
That to me sounds like the smartest idea.
Can I suggest, I think what we're talking about is exactly what you guys are talking about. Hit that pause button. Let's hire a consultant to come in and look at this, and let's engage everyone and come up with a best solution. I think that's where David's going with what he's proposing. So I think it's doing what you're wanting, that we are hitting the pause button on this and we're stopping. We aren't building a road. We're talking about, if we build a road, where would it go? Is it even possible? Maybe it's not possible. Maybe that's
that's reasonable. Yep.
So I guess that's my take. I think what David's proposing doesn't build a road, but it opens up the public process to talk about exactly what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, and we're not committing the grant funding either next Tuesday. We can always say, no, we don't want the funds, here's the money back. So we're not even discussing that. I mean, that's a whole nother step.
Is the grant money, Dave, is the grant money for the road as currently defined or for a road?
Well, it's for a secondary access. So I kind of gave KDOT a heads up that, you know, we did give them a concept, just a very concept. And you know, I can't speak for them. You know, we got it. There will be in the process too, as far as delivering this project, since they have funding in it. But my expectation is I guess I would anticipate that they will work with us to make adjustments to it as needed, because I think the goal is to have the secondary access and not just exactly where it's at. So if it needs to move a little, I would think that they'd be flexible with that. It doesn't need to meet any KDOT design standards, so it'll still be more of a city road. And I would, you know, I don't really classify it as a city street. It's probably more of like a driveway or an access road than a city street. So even a 24-foot wide road is narrower than a residential street.
How wide is the road that currently goes into the Mutt Run?
You mean the entry off of the lower dam road?
Yes.
To the
No,
parking lot?
yes, into the parking lot.
It's a 2-lane road, whatever that is, asphalt road. Okay, hey, can I ask a question, Dave? Is the mixed use path that's been suggested goes along this road, that's not part of the grant, right?
It was included in the grant. Yeah.
In the thing I saw, but that grant money would pay for that too, and the bridges that were necessary to do all that?
It would up to $1 million. So I think it's 75%, 25% KDOT city, up to $1 million, just over $1 million in KDOT funds. So everything above that would be the city's at the city's cost. When we did our preliminary estimate, we included a 25% contingency on top of that, so it's pretty conservative. But it included extending that shared use path out to Mutt Run. I don't think it went beyond that, and I know there will be some folks that will want to see that go all the way to the dam road and then maybe up the dam road. So that's why I think we need to listen to the bicycle community as well that uses that facility. So there's also that connection is included in our bikeway plan. The city has a bikeway plan, and that's shown as a future connection at some point. It's just a dashed line on a plan, just kind of like the road is. It could be shifted over or moved around, but conceptually it shows that at some point, if we improve this area further, we would want to make that bicycle connection. And so that's why we included it in the grant funds, in the grant application.
And so you're calculating, did I read that right? The city's share would be about a little over $600,000?
It would be some of those funds are kind of like in kind. As far as inspection goes, we would do that with in-house staff. So there is a cost to that. Any other KDOT type funding project, we do some of the work with existing staff and not hire it out to consultants. So that's what we included in the grant. Again, it was pretty conservative. I think it could be done for less money, but again, it's all in the details of, where the road's at, how long the road is, what surfacing we use, how wide it is, all those type of things. So we put something together, which we'd rather be high than low. We don't want to underestimate what we need. And so that's kind of,
And has anybody calculated how much 1.5 miles or 2 miles of fencing would be, and the bridges, walkways that we need to go over the creek and everything to do that? So there's been no calculation on that to tell the city how much else the money they're going to have to spend?
Nope, not for the road. And again, I think those are the type of things that when we get a consultant to look at different options and the feasibility, that we can present different cost options to include cost as well in coming up with a good solution. So there's probably things that we haven't even thought about, or that's why I think there might be other stakeholders out there as well that have other ideas. I don't know, but that's why I think we need to have this public engagement process. So
there's the other aspects. That's the aesthetic one, that getting out there and having some quietness, when you're out walking and not having cars coming by. Having some access in bad weather. And the other concern I had in listening to our earlier conversations out at the dog park was trying to urbanize the park. If you want an urban dog park, build an urban dog park somewhere else. Don't talk about paving the roads, because most of us, we put on mud boots and we put on this to be more out in the country. We aren't there to walk around an asphalt pass, that sort of thing. That's not the sort of people that are generally using that. So we don't need a whole lot, haven't had a whole lot of maintenance, haven't demanded a whole lot of maintenance to that area. Because we kind of like it. There are some things we'd like, but we we're not gonna be too insistent upon if we can keep the road from going through. But we do like the peace and quiet and going out there in the morning, the afternoons. That's
I'll
important
even
to
buy
us.
the new hose myself.
If the road doesn't go where it is, and we don't need to move a parking lot, don't need to move a parking lot, you leave it alone.
Yeah,
So a lot of those things, you don't need fencing if you don't do that.
Right.
Yeah, so
yeah. Which was the other thing I saw with the initial guy, not just moving it, but all of a sudden there was fencing all around the park, like we need containment. Yeah, I mean.
yeah, as far as I know, there's been a few dogs run off
concept.
over the last 20 years.
We're not that revolutionary, no.
Fencing is for safety. If there's not a safety need, don't do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've had any dogs or kids or people killed by not having a fence out the dog park.
The only thing I'd like is some more weed mowing. It's overcome with weeds this year. Some more weed mowing would be nice.
You're such a high maintenance guy.
Yeah, I'm tired of combing the stickers out of my Brittany's hair every day when he goes through there. Now it's his fault that he goes out there in the middle of that because he actually enjoys
So does
that,
Ken.
you know. So it's him, not me. He should be talking to you, not me.
We're even willing to continue peeing in a hole.
I get it. And yeah, I think there's small things we can do, but I'm trying to keep it natural. And I do like this lady's idea of she wants to do a volunteer group that works on trails, and she's a dog user, which she's out there. By all means, utilize volunteers if they want to help fill holes in with dirt, work shovels, and take help we can get.
No, we'll do that.
Dave, any other thoughts or concerns, comments?
I don't have any. The agenda item should be posted tomorrow. The city commission agenda is posted this afternoon if it hasn't been posted already, and the items on there, but all the details in the memo, I don't think are on there. They should be on there tomorrow. But the two action items that I gave you are the ones that we intend to bring forward next Tuesday, and so we'll probably have the same conversation next Tuesday. And if you have any other questions, just let me know.
Actually, I had one for you. You said the project can be killed at any time. Do you have any examples of projects that went through the design and then got to that point in public forum and comment, and they just said, no, we're not doing it after working with the consultant?
Good question.
Well,
No.
we've given money back before. I don't know. Nothing's really exactly similar, but once upon a time, before Iowa was improved north of 15th Street, it was 4 lanes without a center turn lane, and we got some safety money from KDOT to put a center turn lane in, and the neighbors over there didn't want traffic going through the neighborhood or encourage that, so we turned away the money and didn't proceed with the project. Well, a few years later down, and there was a couple, at least one fatality there, we changed our mind and then did the project. But that's the first thing that comes to mind as far as roads go. And we've changed details of roads, and we went through a process with the Castle project on what the road should be. And this is a little different because it's a new road. So, but it's the CIP can always change in the budget. So it's there's probably other items that have changed, not road related, but.
Hey, Dave, it's my understanding from talking to my local state legislator that the grant money works that you have till December of 2021 to solicit bids and 6 months after that to accept a bid. So that'd be mid 2022, and you can ask for extensions. Is that the time frame you understand that you're looking at?
I believe so. I don't have the details in front of me, but that's generally the way I understand it. And there's a number of projects we've gotten extensions from KDOT on grant funds for Rec Pass, and we've delayed things for looking at other alignments. But that's, I think, generally speaking, what the intention is, to get. I think they'll get the design at least done next year, and so.
So there is time.
Oh, there's time. But that's the
Can
thing,
I-
this project was approved in the CIP, and originally we weren't going to really get started till 2021, and now we want to get started as soon as we can, because I know there's some anxiety on, starting to have these discussions. So I'd rather not just keep pushing it off, because I think, we want to have these conversations.
Am I understanding, though, what you guys are saying, that that on Tuesday, you're going to ask for approval for a design of the road? How do we get the road through the Mutt Run off?
No,
Yeah,
that's
we
not
are
what
not
they're
going to seek an approval of the design. We're going to seek.
No, I'm sorry, a designer.
We're going to seek approval to solicit proposals from designers and bring back one to the commission.
Correct.
With this.
I did understand that. What I'm saying is, when you hire this designer, the input you give to this designer, will it say, but not through the Mutt Run? Here's what we need to accomplish, but it cannot go through the Mutt Run. Or is the Mutt Run road still going to be on the table?
I don't think we're going to take anything off the table. I don't think it's appropriate to take anything off or to put anything. I mean, I think everything could be considered. And tell one group we're taking off the table and another group that wants something else, I think it's just way premature to do that. I think we want to start talking about the issues and then have the design consultant say, hey, these are the different options. These are the obstacles or the costs, and get feedback from the core, and then go back to the city commission with those different options. So, that would be my response. I don't want to really take anything out at this point.
But you have to get city commission approval to put together this little committee that you're talking about. I mean, that's one of the things you're asking for, is approval to put together the advisory committee or whatever.
It is,
right?
and I don't know if we really would need to meet until we really engage a consultant. And that process is gonna take a month or two to get back proposals and take a recommendation to the city commission to get going. So that's going to take a little bit of time as well.
If I don't mean to, I don't understand it. If you don't take it off the table and you say it's wide open for the design consultant, the design consultant could look at the parameters that you lay out and say, oh, it's easy. We'll just put it right here, right through the Mutt Run.
Well,
unless the designer has some input saying there's substantial community opposition to the road going here, that's part of the input that person needs to get, or we'll be right back
I
here
agree,
again.
and that's why it's clearly going to be a two-step process. So I do think that the consultant will have a combination of public engagement skills and design skills, and we're not going to do any design until we have public meetings and hear feedback, and then we will get survey information, put together some design options, and I think we need a minimum of 2. I don't think we would start with coming out with what we would prefer, what the design consultant would prefer. I think that's why I think we really need to have a consultant do this, and someone that can help facilitate the discussion, and then start looking at like design type work. And so
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I got to run, and I really appreciate this conversation, the input, and thank you guys for taking the time. This really helps, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry, but I got to run right now. So anyway, till next.
John.
Thank
Yeah, I really appreciate it too. Thank you very much, Mark and Derek, for this is the most productive conversation we've ever had. So I very much appreciate it. And I did this time for the first time think there was, thank you, Derek. I thought that you had an understanding about this space. So that means a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. My wife's out there quite a bit, so believe me, I hear about it at home.
What's your dog's name?
Cisco. It's a little white, Malibu, I think. My daughter's got a Beagle mix, and my son's got a herding dog mix, Lilo. And so we end up usually taking out their dog, sometimes our neighbor dog, and we fenced our backyard in with our neighbors when they had a lab, so the dogs would have a bigger running area. So.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Any more questions or any comments anybody would like to add?
Well, I'd like to add in, thank you very much for this. This is the best conversation we've had, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, and then it's what it should be, and I'm sorry the process has been, I just say jacked up from the get-go, but I hate to say it's based on the grant money, and my forte is not public comments and community engagement in this way, but I'm continuing to learn, so thank you. With that, I hope everybody has a good evening. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Brian. Chief Kim.
I know we'll see you again.
See you Tuesday.
See you Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Good night.
Hey, thanks, Brian, for stepping in for KDOT too. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Time, man.
We're here to provide input.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.